Imagine having everything: wealth beyond imagination, power unmatched, wisdom that even kings and queens traveled to hear. Imagine having it all and still losing everything. King Solomon did. The richest man who ever lived, by today's standards, worth over $2.2 trillion. Yet he died with nothing that truly mattered. His kingdom crumbled, his heart drifted, and his legacy tarnished. How can a man who had it all end up with nothing? And if Solomon could fall that far, what about you? This is not just a history lesson. This is your warning. King Solomon's life started with unimaginable favor. He was born into royalty, the son of King David, Israel's most revered king. But it wasn't his birthright that defined him. It was what he asked God for. When given the chance to request anything, Solomon didn't ask for money, fame, or power. He asked for wisdom. And God, touched by his selflessness, gave him not only wisdom, but everything else too: riches, honor, and long life. 1 Kings 3:12-13. Solomon became the wisest man who ever lived. He wrote thousands of proverbs, built the glorious temple of God, and ruled with such splendor that even the Queen of Sheba traveled from a distant land just to see if the rumors were true. When she arrived, she said, "Indeed, not even half was told me." 1 Kings 10:7. He was so rich that silver was considered worthless in his day. 2 Chronicles 9:20. He had palaces, ships of gold, thousands of horses, vineyards, singers, dancers, and 700 wives. The man had it all. But here's the terrifying truth. You can have everything and still lose your soul. Solomon started off wise, but he didn't stay wise. His downfall wasn't sudden, it was slow. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because maybe that's what's happening to you too. He began compromising. Just little things at first. He married foreign women, against God's command, not because he wanted to disobey, but because he thought he could handle it. He thought he was strong enough to avoid their gods and still please the Lord. But 1 Kings 11:4 reveals the sad truth. When Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. Do you see it? He didn't just lose money, he lost his devotion. He didn't just lose focus, he lost faith. This is how you die broke with billions, not when your bank account hits zero, but when your soul does. What's tragic is that Solomon knew better. He wrote the warnings. He gave the advice you and I still read today. Listen to what he said in Proverbs. "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Proverbs 4:23. Yet Solomon didn't guard his own heart. He let it be seduced by idols, lust, and pride. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Proverbs 9:10. But Solomon began to fear losing control more than he feared the Lord. "Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil." Proverbs 15:16. He had great wealth and lived in turmoil. Do you see the heartbreak here? Solomon, the wisest man, ignored his own wisdom. And maybe you're doing the same thing. You know what's right. You've read the verses, you feel the conviction. But you keep ignoring it because the pleasure feels too good or the money feels too close. Solomon was once like you, on fire, passionate, purposeful. But a slow drift took him from building God's temple to building altars for demons. Solomon's wealth was legendary, but he came to a painful conclusion that hits hard even today. In Ecclesiastes, the book he wrote at the end of his life, he confessed the emptiness of it all. "I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure." Yet everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Ecclesiastes 2:10-11. He's not just writing poetry here, he's giving a deathbed confession. "I had everything, and it left me empty." Let that sink in. You might be chasing the house, the status, the fame, the comfort, the followers, the luxury. But if God isn't at the center of it all, it will feel like dust in your mouth. Solomon had billions, but he died broke, not because his gold disappeared, but because his soul did. And if you're honest, maybe you're starting to feel that emptiness too. The Bible doesn't say Solomon was evil from the start. He was blessed, chosen, anointed, but he let his desires grow without boundaries. 700 wives, 300 concubines, foreign gods, sacrifices on pagan altars, wine, pleasure, status. Solomon turned his life into a buffet of indulgence, but instead of feeding his soul, he poisoned it. Proverbs 25:28 says, "Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control." Solomon became that city, once strong, now vulnerable, once rich, now bankrupt in spirit. And you have to ask yourself, what desires in your life are going unchecked? What boundaries have you let fall? Because you don't need 700 wives to lose yourself. Sometimes all it takes is one compromise over and over again. When Solomon died, his kingdom split. His son Rehoboam was a disaster. The unity David fought for, the temple Solomon built, the peace they enjoyed, all shattered, all because Solomon's heart was divided. The tragedy isn't just how Solomon lived. The tragedy is what he left behind. And here's the truth. Your choices don't just affect you. They affect your children. They affect your legacy. Solomon should have ended his life as the ultimate example of godly wisdom and victory. Instead, he's remembered as the man who lost everything, spiritually, emotionally, and eternally. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. Solomon's story might have ended in brokenness, but yours doesn't have to. He wrote Ecclesiastes not as a man still lost, but as a man warning others. It's the most honest, vulnerable book he ever wrote. He strips away the glitter and says, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." Ecclesiastes 12:13. In other words, I messed up. Don't follow me down this road, turn back while you still can. That's what he's saying to you right now. You don't have to lose everything. You don't have to die broke. You don't have to waste your wisdom. You can start guarding your heart today. You can begin fearing God above everything else. You can say no to the compromises that are killing your soul. And if you feel like you've already gone too far, Solomon has something for you too. He's proof that even at the end, there's still time to speak truth, to repent, to return, to warn others, to rewrite your ending. Solomon had billions, but he died broke, because real wealth isn't in gold, it's in godliness. You can build empires, drive the best, wear the finest, sleep with whoever, and still be bankrupt in your soul. But if you fear the Lord, walk in wisdom and guard your heart, you'll be richer than Solomon ever was. So now the question is, what are you building? A kingdom that fades, or a legacy that lasts? Choose wisely, because as Solomon once wrote, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Proverbs 14:12. If this message hit your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Comment "I choose wisdom" below. And subscribe for more truth that feeds your soul, not just your eyes. Let Solomon's story be a warning. Let your story be different.